hide from them anymore. What do we do?
Are we not men?
How you doing, guys?
Doing great. Fantastic. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks very much for speaking to me. Congratulations on the movie. I don't know which is cooler, the creatures, which are amazing. I don't think I've ever seen any creatures kind of quite like that before, or the fact that you get Nicolas Cage to be your dad. Which was the cooler of the two things?
Nic Cage, probably. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But those creatures were something.
Yeah, that was one of my other questions. Is what did you actually work with? Because those creatures, I mean, obviously a lot of that must have been CGI, but what did you actually get to work with? Because that must have been really difficult to imagine this kind of creature that I've honestly never seen anything quite like it before.
I mean, for us too, the design was always changing, and we had somewhat of an idea of what it looked like in the beginning, but when that changed, it kind of gave us this freedom though to not know exactly what they will look like. So there's a mystery there for us. And also Ben comes from a VFX background, our director,
Yeah.
and he worked very closely with our head VFX guy, Zach, who is on set with us every day. And they were always brainstorming. There were some practical things like some arm mechanics and wearable things. I also do that autopsy on the monster, which was really interesting. It was only certain parts because, like, we had a head, but the head now looks completely different. So being close to it was fun, and knowing little details, the cockroaches, their color and the hair, like all of that kind of gave this creepy vibe, but there was still that mystery there for us.
Something that I want to ask, it's kind of effects related, the hairstyles. Why is it that you two, especially Maxwell's hair, are kind of like these ball patches? You get these kind of post-apocalyptic hairdos, and your father is perfectly trimmed. What happened there?
I'm so glad you asked that question. You're the first person who's asked me about my hair.
Why is it so jacked up?
Yeah.
Is the question.
Well, I'm a very vain person and I want to talk about my hair. But no, the hair thing for me, I was talking with our incredible hair designer, Linda Gannon, when we first got there, and she actually had the idea of really jacking me up. And it was a kind of collaborative process for that. And we talked to Ben a lot, and we realized with that hair we could do a lot. So it has all these patches in it and these scars in it because we learn in the scene in the rose farm when I'm with Charlotte in her room looking at myself in the mirror. That's really one of the first times I've seen my reflection clearly, for sure. I mean, maybe I've seen it in a body of water or maybe like a cracked, dirty mirror. But this is three guys living in a house in the middle of the woods in the apocalypse. The last thing that they're really caring about is checking themselves out in the mirror every day, making sure they look good. So I've just kind of cut my hair off with a rusty razor blade or whatever. As I've gone on, if it's too long here, okay, I'll cut that off. And then, oh, this is too long, okay. So it's kind of that whole thing, which I really like because it makes the scene when I'm looking at myself in the mirror really relatable, I think, as this extreme version of what it's like to feel almost uncomfortable with what you realize you look like as a young adult coming of age. And it's one of the first, I think there's a lot of elements in this story that really that people can pick up on and relate to, especially in the coming of age part. And that's a really specific example of it, I think, that I like.
I think something else that people really pick up with is the kind of the isolation, especially after kind of COVID and everything. I was reading, I don't know if this is true, but Nicolas Cage locked himself away for 3 months with his family. Is that true? Did you do anything similar? Because I kind of think that's kind of like the last thing anyone would want to do after COVID and lockdown and everything, no?
Yeah, we essentially were shooting in Ireland, and kind of being out of the way of civilization. We were all staying at this one hotel. We were all kind of stuck there. So that was a form of isolation for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we were about, God, it must have been like an hour or two far outside of Dublin, which is really the only city nearby. Yeah, I think isolation definitely was just built into the whole thing. I mean, it was the same. We had a really small cast, and those were really the only people we saw for those 2 months. For sure.
And obviously, I've got to ask you because Nicolas Cage is very famous for kind of the way that he really goes method with a lot of his roles, and I imagine he did so here. How did you kind of prepare with Nicolas Cage specifically? Was there anything that kind of jumped to your attention that you weren't really kind of prepared when you got on set to rehearse with him?
Well, I feel like I didn't know what to expect considering how long he's been doing this and at the capacity he's been doing it, and also even in the last couple of years, or specifically that year we're shooting, how many projects he's been doing. I didn't know how much he was going to give, but when we got on set and we hit certain roadblocks, he would constantly be asking questions. He would constantly be evolving the scene, and not to serve himself, but to serve the story and understand the dynamic of the father and his 2 sons. And like, he brought us into that. He showed us how to like ask those questions. He was curious what we had to say too, and we would like all kind of work on a scene together and change it in the middle of doing it. And I mean, that's a really special thing I've never seen anything like that or been a part of anything like that collaboration, that level of like just a looseness too that Ben created with the environment that he kind of curated in terms of everything being loose, everything being free, the way Ben shoots to our DP Frank.
Yeah.
Special thing.
You know, I was just going to say, I was reading that Ben was very kind of open to. He was kind of not open to. He was interested. He wanted you to kind of give your input and find out how you were going to tell your stories. Was there anything specific that you told him that he kind of really appreciated and put into the script because of what you brought to the table?
Definitely is. I gotta think back. There definitely is.
Definitely stuff. I mean, I definitely remember some stuff in that one scene I did with Nick, where he comes into the garage where I've been tinkering the car, and there's sort of this dialogue about what that car means and what Joseph wants, which is freedom. He doesn't want to run in this world anymore. He doesn't want to hide, at least, and those insecurities and anxieties that are very human and relatable, but they're just related to this world that we obviously know nothing about, these extreme circumstances. And I remember us talking through that scene and Nick kind of rerouting it into this. I think it started a little bit more, bit more of a pessimistic approach, but he was like, this is my duty right now as a father, is to give him hope in this world. And so that anecdote that he tells, or that kind of, he makes this analogy about heroes coming over the hill. And that, a lot of that was all him. And like, that's how he was feeling at the time. That's what he thought his son needed. And that was really fascinating. That was cool to work with.
Well, listen, they give it the wrap. So listen, thank you so much, guys, for your time. I wish you the best of luck with the movie. I'm sure people are going to love it, especially when they've got to see it on the big screen, because those creatures are just out of this world. And I hope to speak to you again sometime soon, guys.
All right, thank you.
All right, take care of yourself. Have a good day.
You
Cheers,
too.
man.
They trapped us in. They're coming up from underneath us. They'll break in any second.
You need to trust me.